Good morning. Welcome to my thought for the day. During that period between Palm Sunday and Good Friday, it's recorded in Matthew and in the other Gospels as well, several parables that Jesus taught right towards the end of his life. And they were really quite pointed parables. The earlier parables in the Gospels are general parables about the kingdom and about what it's like to be part of the kingdom. Things like the sower sowing the seed and the lamp and the light being put under a bed and those sort of things. But in the last days of his life, the parables were much more pointed and much more, quite easily understood, certainly, because the one I'm going to read part of is in Matthew 21, verse 33 onwards. And at the end of it, it says in 45, when the chief priests and the Pharisees heard his parables, they perceived that he was speaking about them. So they understood that this was particularly this parable was a pointed parable. And they understood it, and they knew he was directing it towards them. So let me read it to you. It's the parable of the wicked tenants, it says in my Bible here. There was a householder who planted a vineyard and set a hedge around it and dug a winepress in it and built a tower and let it out to tenants and went into another country. When the season of fruit grew near, he sent his servants to the tenants to get his fruit. And the tenants took his servants and beat one, killed another, and stoned another. Again he sent other servants, more than the first, and they did the same to them. Afterward he sent his son to them, saying, they will respect my son. But when the tenants saw the son, they said to themselves, this is the heir. Come, let us kill him and have his inheritance. And they took him and cast him out of the vineyard and killed him. When therefore the owner of the vineyard comes, what will he do to those tenants? They said to him, he'll put those wretches to a miserable death and let out the vineyard to other tenants who will give him the fruits in their seasons. Jesus said to them, have you never read in the scriptures, the very stone which the builders rejected has become the head of the corner. This was the Lord's doing, and it is marvelous in our eyes. Therefore I tell you, the kingdom of God will be taken away from you and given to a nation producing the fruits of it. When the chief priests and Pharisees heard his parables, they perceived that he was speaking about them. But when they tried to arrest him, they feared the multitudes because they held him to be a prophet. So this parable to me is so descriptive of the whole of the Old Testament, so the latter part of the Old Testament. And for me, it echoes a passage in Isaiah 5, 1-7. Do turn to it if you get a chance. Pause my video and read it. I haven't got time to read it to you now. But it talks about God being a vineyard grower and planting a vineyard and looking for it to produce fruit, but it produces wild grapes and they're not useful for making wine. And the parable is explained in Isaiah that this is talking about his people, the people of Israel and Judah, and that he looked to them he had put them in and it's a picture of his people. He put them in a land flowing with milk and honey, a fertile land, a wonderful land. He put them in a wonderful place. He'd given them the covenant and his laws and everything, and all they did was live for themselves and be dishonest and cruel and ungodly. And the vineyard didn't produce what God wanted it to, what the vineyard owner wanted it to produce. And I think when Jesus talked about a householder planting a vineyard, the Jewish people knew that was a picture that God had used to them through their prophet Isaiah of his people. And the picture it's beautifully set out. There's wonderful towers, and there are tenants who've been given charge of the vineyard. And in a sense, it speaks to us as well, that God has given us our lives and gifts he's given us. And in fact, there's the parable of the talents, which comes up in a couple of chapters later, when workers are given different amounts of talents to serve the master, and some use them and some don't. It's the same principle here, that God has given us everything we need to serve him and to produce fruit for his kingdom. And when these tenants didn't, he sent his servants to exact the fruit. They were tenants. They didn't own the vineyard. They were tenants. And I think the servants here refer to the prophets who were sent to God's people to tell them that they were living wrong, and to warn them of judgment, to tell them that God was calling them back to his principles and to living for him. And they disrespected all of them. And then the owner of the vineyard sends his own son. And it couldn't be more plain that this is Jesus, sent to his own property, God's own people, and God's own people reject him. It's an echo of John chapter 1, isn't it? And Jesus even says, let us kill him. And they cast him out of the vineyard and killed him. And Jesus knew what was coming. He knew what they were going to do to him. And he made it plain to them that he knew what they were going to do. And he puts it to the people who are listening. What should the owner do to these tenants? And everyone, and I don't think that's the chief priests and the Pharisees, that's the crowd. The crowd says, well, they don't deserve anything but to be thrown out of the vineyard and treated the way they've treated the owner's servants and son. And Jesus says, you're right. You're right. Because the very stone the builders rejected, this is talking again about the people of God. The leaders of God's people rejected the central stone, the cornerstone, Jesus. They rejected him. And because they rejected him, they were not going to be part of his kingdom. But it would be given to a nation that would produce the fruits. And this is Jesus saying quite plainly to these Jewish leaders that the kingdom was going to be given outside of the people of God, the people of Israel, the descendants of Abraham, that a new age was beginning, a new change. But the opportunity had been there all along for the people of God to turn back to him and serve him. It's a warning for us. It's a warning for us. Don't take lightly what you've got and what you've been given. We are called to high standards. We are called to serve the Lord with everything that we have. He's given us everything. And we are in because those who were first in didn't want to be in, and they chose to reject him. And I think all these things that Jesus said are tinged with sadness that his own people, the leaders, those who knew the scriptures, they knew what they were doing. This is the most awful thing. They knew what they were doing. They knew they were rejecting the one that God had sent, and they still chose to do it. It's the amazing nature of mankind that we will reject even the very thing that is the only thing that can help us. So this is a warning to us. The vineyard is a place of production. And Jesus then goes on, doesn't he, in John chapter 15, to say that he is the vine and we are the branches. He's still talking about producing fruit. And there's opportunity for all of us to abide in the vine and produce fruit for the kingdom. So God bless you. Have a great day. And I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.